And so in that way, I think I might be treated differently. I'm not playing the victim here. I'm just going by observation. But beyond stuff like that, I've never had anybody say, go sit down and shut up, you're a woman. What do you know? You're talking about, is it just the football thing? Is it the collision? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. And we're going to take a look at that connection right now. I've been wondering about how men view women who call sports, who do commentary on sports. And I've been wondering if there's a resistance to that across the board. Typically, everybody's different, but I was just want to pick people's brain. Like, typically, do men resist that? And so I asked first, I did a poll, put a poll question in for the top 2 memberships of the Adrienne Ross Show. Didn't get much response because for some reason they're kind of shy. They don't tend to take advantage of their perks as members of the channel. So I expanded it to all members, those who have joined, not just subscribe, but those who join the channel. So I want to share that with you, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm asking. And I really do request that you give your feedback because I'm curious. So let's take a look at what I asked, what the poll question was. And here you see it. I started out by saying I created this poll for the top 2 levels of membership here on the channel, but only 4 votes came in, and I'd like more feedback, so please weigh in on this. Here's the question. Do you think that most men typically are opposed to women as sports commentators? I got 41 votes in. Options were yes, no, or depends on the sport. In that case, I wanted an explanation in the comments. So 17% said that men are typically opposed to women as sports commentators. 56% said no. 27% said it depends on the sport. And so I got a few comments. Let's take a look at the comments, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm asking. And of course, I want to hear from you. So someone said, I haven't read all the comments, so I apologize if I've repeated another sentiments, but it seems like there are more resistance to accepting women commentating in men's sports as opposed to women commentators for women's sports. So of course, I want to know, like, what do you consider men's sports? Do you mean a sport a woman can commentate if it's a woman? Basketball. I mean, both men and women play basketball. So are you saying that if it's a woman, then she should be commentating on, say, the WNBA or NCAA women's basketball? Or do you consider basketball a men's sport or women's sport altogether? All right. So the next one says commentator or color commentator. I assume you mean color commentator, player insight. Women's sports, no. So men don't mind women doing it for women's sports. Most men's sports, yes. All right. So someone says, I'm fine with women commentators on women's sports. This is from a woman. This is Patricia. So it says, I'm fine with women commentators on women's sports, but to me, they still seem out of place in men's sports. I don't know how the men feel about it. And so again, when they say men's sports and women's sports, do they mean women's basketball? Then you should have a woman commentator, and that's fine if you do. But if it's a sport like men's basketball, they're not, or football or what? Okay. So someone else says works well for WNBA, as most men before Caitlin Clark would not watch the WNBA. works equally well in predominantly female sports like gymnastics, not so well for NFL, college football, or other collision sports. Interesting. But one of the things that I did say was that men have always been the leading watchers of the WNBA. Women are more critical of women's pro basketball than men. And so, but I thought this was interesting what he said, because he said it works well for women to be commentators on predominantly female sports like gymnastics. He gives an example, but not so much if it's college football or NFL or collision sports in general. Interesting. All right. So someone says, knowledge people, regardless of anything else, all there is to it, my friend. So he's saying it doesn't matter. It's about what you know, it's about knowledge. Someone here says, I don't know. Personally, I watch very little sports, but when I do watch, I look for informative commentators. Gender does not matter. So this name, it's a guy's name. So it's Victor here. So I think men don't really mind as long as whoever is commentating knows their stuff. And that's what we got. Someone said here, and that's what he said about knowledge. So, okay, here's a woman. I believe it does depend on the sport. Women are more accepted commentators in women's sports, not so much in male-dominated sports such as boxing. And then we hear about football again. All right. I listen to those who are professional, knowledgeable, have experience in said sport, and provide meaningful commentary. The sex of the person does not matter. This is a guy. Okay, here's this. What I hear from guys is, but she didn't play the game, and it is usually about, but she didn't play the game, and it is usually about football. Okay, and Olympic experience seems to count. So a former Olympic female hockey player is deemed qualified by these guys to report or commentate on the NHL. Okay, here's a woman. I think for the most part, it is an accepted reality. Women's commentators are serious about their jobs and do it well, and that earns respect. All right, here we have, I think men do not necessarily listen to commentary of women in football, as most of the commentators played football professionally, and that is who they listen to. Same with basketball. But if a woman played the sport and understands the sport deeply, men would listen to a woman's opinions or analysis of that sport. All right, here's another woman. They are still drawn to eye candy at times more than someone who knows the sport and can provide excellent insight as well as commentary jargon. So that eye candy, the woman is there as eye candy. Another woman, they usually choose very attractive women. So the same thing here, some eye candy for the men. I don't think anyone, men or women, are really interested in the women's point of view. Interesting. And then here, I think they are comfortable if they know sports well, engaged in college or at a professional level. So then I asked, does it matter the sport, like football versus basketball or versus tennis? And this person said, I think football for sure, not a sport women play typically. But so they are fine with the sport women play, but not so much football. But there are certainly knowledgeable women of the game, but watching is different than playing, and that's where credibility may be an issue. Okay, and then someone chimed in. A woman, I will say the WNBA is the exception. They get attractive women who are ex-professional ballers to commentate. These women know the game on all levels and are worth everyone's attention. Football and the rest of sports, it seems like the girls are scripted and don't have much to offer on their own. Interesting. I was wondering, that's why I asked if it depends on the sport. The poll seems to suggest that it doesn't really matter. And the second most popular option was that it depends on the sport. Now, the sport seems to be what people are saying when it comes to football. Some people really, they believe that men don't really want to hear from women so much on a sport like football because mostly they have not played football. And others are saying it depends on knowledge. Okay, so why am I asking this question? I'm asking this question because there was recently some kerfluffle because TJ Moe, you may know TJ Moe, you see him a lot on Jason Whitlock's show, played football. And TJ Moe posted something that got some feedback, and then Jason Whitlock jumped in. And so let's take a look at what he posted. And I've been wanting to ask you, this community, what you think. And the reason why I'm asking has something to do with me. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what he posted, what Jason had to say about it, and then bring it all together. TJ Moe had posted this some time ago. This is over a month ago. Says, who with pictures of three women. Who actually wants to watch three women stand around and talk about football? I do not. And he actually puts their picture there. One thing I've noticed about TJ Moe is he calls himself, he's a Christian, sports, real estate, culture, contributor to Fearless. He seemed like Jason to me, seems to be someone who kind of feels like it's godly somehow to really blast women to a certain extent. I'm not saying I disagree with him. I'm just saying that's something I've observed about him. And I'm a person who believes in a man being strong and being a leader and all that. I don't have a problem with that at all. But sometimes it just kind of seems like they think that it's godly to kind of like throw three women's faces up here and then put that and then post that, which I find really weird. But anyway, so he said, who actually wants to watch three women stand around talking about football? I do not. And then he goes on to say, this tweet upset some folks, so let me clarify. No one wants to listen to three women talk football. Men are better at it. It's like asking cats to bark. I issue no apology and no retracts. Most people agree with me. They're just afraid to say it. Carry on with your outrage. Now, other people begin to chime in, some of whom are women. Says, once upon a time, the female sideline reporters accepted that they were there as eye candy. Now they demand we take them seriously as students of the game. Please. That's from a woman. And TJ Moe said, it ruins the show. They have the greatest coach of all time breaking down the game and then say, let's kick it down to three women who have never played the game and see what they think. So here's someone named Jessica. She said, I love college football more than anything. Worked for ESPN for a short time. Aside from Holly Rowe's sideline reporting, I don't want to hear women talk about football. This is a woman. And she's saying, aside from Holly Rowe, we know Holly Rowe, she does WNBA as well. Said, I don't want to hear from women, she says. Okay, so TJ Moe said, this has been the consensus in most replies. A lot of people like Holly on the sideline, but the vast majority of people don't want to hear women break down the game. Seems like half of the replies have been women echoing this. Anyway, he went on to say, scroll through the replies here. 90% of women replying agree. They don't want to listen to three women talk about football either. Let's just scroll up a little bit. Here's someone named Stephanie. I bet they and others who love the game know more about it than you. And then he gave a smart aleck response, which, I don't blame him because she was smart aleck. He says, you got me. I don't know anything about football. I've never even attended a game, just jealous of their superior football knowledge. And I couldn't help but lash out. So his sarcasm. Here's Trisha. No one wants that. Some are just weirdly afraid to admit it. So she's saying she don't want to hear from women either. Okay. So here's Melanie Mack. I'm a woman who loves football and I agree. LOL. He says you're in the majority. Here's Molly. You could change the channel, turn off the TV, text a family member and tell them you love them. Go do something nice for someone. But nope. You choose as a Christian, use your energy to degrade three people who don't know you exist. And then, of course, he went on into basically how he feels like this is God's calling or something to say what he says. Shamika's laughing. You're discriminating, Shamika Michelle. Okay. So real men do not want to hear a bunch of pampered Western broads talking about football. And again, people mentioned Holly, they like her, but no. Love and respect her, but just no. And here's another woman. I'm a woman and I completely agree with you. I've been saying this for years. Get the women off the field and enough with the female commentary on football. No one wants it. And if someone does want it, it's only because they're an angry feminist. So, again, just like from my experience, most of the women are hardest on WNBA. A lot of the women don't want to watch the WNBA. I mean, these women are saying, I don't want to hear women talk about football. I just don't. Not everybody agreed with TJ Moe. Some people really got on his case. I saw some comments, especially since the way he did it, the way he speaks, and then he kind of makes it seem like that's what it is to be a Christian. And so some people called him out on that. And Jason Whitlock chimed in also on this. They tend to agree quite a bit from what I noticed when I used to tune in regularly. But Jason chose to chime in after Torrey Smith, who is a former NFL wide receiver. Let me pull this up. He's a former NFL wide receiver. And he responded to TJ Moe by saying, there are plenty of women that would dog walk you talking ball. And he says, regardless of what y'all macho dudes think, football is for everyone. It ain't rocket science. You can study it and learn the game. Plenty of analysts and coaches are amazing at it and never played. So he's saying you don't have, women just because they never played doesn't mean anything. A lot of people have never played. So he says, there are a bunch of women who could dog walk you talking about it. So Jason Whitlock got in on it and he said, name two. Name two, he said. So then Torrey Smith responded, Amy Trask, Mina Kimes, Kay Adams, and he goes on and he names some. And then Jason Whitlock said, so this group of ladies is going to dog walk TJ Moe in a conversation about football. He lettered 4 years at Mizzou, played wide receiver. Beth Moans, Mina Kimes, and Jamel Hill are going to dog walk him. Define dog walk, please. I may not understand. So, like I said, he wanted to get in on it. And here's Amy Trask. Hi, Jason Whitlock. My name is Amy. I spent almost 30 years with the Raiders and had the great fortune of discussing the game with Al Davis, coaches, players, NFL officials, and others, many of whom are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I learned from the best. And so he responded and said, hi, Amy, I'm well aware of your background. I appreciate your respectful response. I'd love to respectfully discuss this topic with you. Any chance you can come on my show tomorrow? This author here at Awful Announcing says the problem is it doesn't really seem like Whitlock wants a good-natured discussion. It says if he thinks that women, for the simple reason that they are not men, cannot discuss football at a high level, then what is there to discuss? And then he goes on to say football is a game and games can be learned. So I'm not here to say that TJ Moe or Jason Whitlock are wrong. A lot of the women feel the same way. Some men feel the same way. And people on both sides disagree as well. But I'm curious. And one of the reasons why I'm curious is because since I rebranded this channel and started talking about basketball, not once has anyone in the comments or anything said, why are you doing this? This is for men to do. Nobody wants to hear a woman talk about basketball. No one wants to hear a woman talk about sports. And I've done not only just given my opinion about things, not only covered culture of things, but I've taken, I've taught certain things. I've looked at workout videos and broken them down. I've talked about form and technique and how to properly do pick and roll and how you're supposed to release the basketball and three-man weave and various things, even more so that I do for the members. And I've never once that I can recall ever had anyone say, you know what, go sit down. You're a woman. Why are you talking about this? Nobody wants to hear a woman talk about sports, or no one wants to hear a woman talk about basketball. That was why part of my question was, does it depend on the sport? If I were talking about football, would it be different? Would there be 43,500 plus subscribers if it was a woman like myself talking about football, which I cannot do? Okay. But if I could, and I did, would people be interested? Does it like some people have said, does it have to do with the particular sport? Or would I have more subscribers if I were a man, or what? Again, I've not experienced any of that negativity, or I don't know if you want to call it negativity. I've not experienced any of those opinions coming at me. Now, I have noticed that people who have their own channels, for example, I think they tend to treat me a little bit differently in that I often hear them say things like, "Oh, shout out to so and so and shout out to this person," and they're guys, and they'll do that. Meanwhile, they might I've experienced people who will take video footage of me and they'll play it and never mention my name, which I'm going to start clamping down on because I don't mind people sharing my stuff. But if you can't say, "Hey, this was over at the Adrienne Ross show," and you just show my video footage, I don't think that's cool. But that's something that I've noticed too. Like people are like, "Oh, especially when you know that they've been checking your stuff." And I don't people who regularly post stuff, the only person that I know of who will comment, who will give me a shout out really is Livewire Sports. Marty will do that. We've done some collabs together too. It's cool. But so as far as those who are regularly putting out content right now, that's what I'm talking about. He'll do that, but for the most part, I'll hear guys and they shout out other guys, even though I know some of them are checking out my stuff, or even like I said, showing video footage, and you won't even hear my name. It's like, "Oh, let's just show her video and never say anything." And so in that way, I think I might be treated differently. I'm not playing the victim here. I'm just going by observation. But beyond stuff like that, I've never really I've never had anybody say, "Go sit down and shut up, you're a woman." What do you know? You're talking about, is it just the football thing? Is it the collision sports, as someone termed it? What about you? Like, was it hard for you if you're a regular viewer of this channel? Was it hard for you to take to me because I'm a woman? Was it hard for you to take me seriously? Is it hard for you to take me seriously, or is it just a football thing? Like Jason Whitlock was talking about, like TJ Moe was talking about. I mean, and they may not even want to hear from anybody. From what I've heard from them, they may not want to hear from women at all concerning sports. But is football different? If so, why am I not experiencing that on this channel? What kind of feedback can you give? Really am curious about this, since I have rebranded to talking about sports, and we're sports and culture connect. Love to hear your thoughts. So if you would get in the comments, and if you yeah, just tell me what you think. I'm really curious, and tell me what your experience is. All right. Thank you for indulging me in what's going on in my head. I'm a thinker, and I'm a question asker, and you guys get to answer my questions if you don't mind. I appreciate it very much. All right. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundant.